going to be sharing with you again in this third installment some video surveillance of attacks, and we will critique them. I have been posting some on Facebook. Some people look at them, some people don't. I get some people that reply. However, we will address those. Also, I'm going to spend time on self-defense, non-lethal self-defense devices today. And we will look and see how they can be such a game changer. If you'll note, in so many of these attacks, if the person just had a force equalizer, whichever device they decide, a non-lethal, how different the outcomes would have been. So thank you for joining us. I trust you'll be here for installment 4 when I have it out. So please share these. The population needs to know these things. And they're such simple things that if you just keep in mind, you could save your life or the life of someone you love. All right, thank you very much. As a prelude to this section on non-lethals, I think it's important to mention that we have a proper understanding of what it is we are trying to do as people who have been involved in self-defense, martial arts, whatever you want to call it. We're not a bunch of Bruce Lees. We're not a bunch of people that promote violence. That is absolutely not the point. I abhor violence. The point is this, is that despite maybe what public officials tell us, assaults are on the rise. I have that on reliable sources. If you are in an urban setting, you go here in our area, be Columbus, Dayton, or Springfield, these things do happen, and they happen on a regular basis. Are you ready to deal with it? God forbid that you or someone you love be injured, or worse. There is no other feeling more horrible than feeling helpless. I don't want you to end up in that situation. We've talked about the force-enhancing devices, self-defense devices. I'll be showing several of those. There'll be stun guns, flashlights that are stun guns, flashlights that are strobes that blind people, batons. You have to decide what device best suits you. If you're elderly, you need something simple, easy to use. It's not a certain device fits all. Sometimes people get the impression that people involved in martial arts are like preppers or paranoid or doom forecasters. That is not it at all. We simply feel that people need to be prepared. We simply feel that people need to be prepared in case the worst would happen. As you've seen from a lot of these videos, people were seriously injured. And that might not have been the case if they had some sort of device to thwart that attack. It's bad enough to lose your property, but to be seriously injured or even killed, or someone you love killed, is something we would have to live with the rest of our lives. Be ready. Making certain things a habit. I carry a certain thing daily, a device, and I get in the habit. You have to form the habit of looking around. It's not paranoia. You have to form the habit of having that device at your fingertips, whatever device you choose, and have it in spaces of transition, because that is where attacks occur. And learn to recognize those spaces and be prepared. I thank you. Here we have a lady walking down the street in Center City. I guess that's near Philadelphia. And somebody comes up and hits her in the head. Not a hard one. Of course, on a busy street you wouldn't expect that to happen, but I guess it does. I suppose you need to be aware of who's behind you and how close they are to you and whether they look like they're up to no good. Let me see here. We got a gas station robbery. I think the first thing we need to bring up, I think she left her keys in the ignition. That is obviously a no-no. And here comes a car, comes up and stops. And of course that's bad news. Look what she does. Very, very foolish. However, she wins out in the end. He can't get her off. It's not worth it. Of course, see, her car's still in drive. And she jumps around and gets in and does get it stopped before it hits that post or goes into oncoming traffic. She's very fortunate. Your car's not worth your life. He could have taken a pistol out and shot her off the windshield. Worst case scenario. I don't think she was injured in any way. But when we think we're about to lose our property, I guess there's a sense of panic and that we need to try to do something to stop it. However, that was not the right thing to do. More than likely, they would have just committed a robbery with it, then dumped it somewhere. And she would have been able to probably pick it up the next day. Don't know, I'm just saying that's a possibility. Alright, we have this one. This guy is visiting, I think he said his brother. Okay, and all of a sudden a fella comes up with a gun. Of course, it's pitch black out. And he complies. Gives up what money he has, what valuables, and he's gone. Not so bad. However, there is a trend where they'll take your goods and shoot you just for the jollies. I know it's very distasteful to put it that way. What could he have done possibly to avoid the situation? I was just thinking a couple things. You really couldn't tell how much lighting was there. It didn't seem like there was much lighting. So I would encourage the owners to install more lighting. Were there bushes? Were there places where this person could hide? Was there a standing car somewhere in the area? Perhaps in the street, along the street? No easy answer. It might have been impossible to avoid. Right, in this scenario, three fellas come in and rob a marijuana dispensary. And see, they were distracted, and the owner deploys some bear spray. Let me show you one part here. He's acting there. Now he reaches. There he goes. Now I want you to watch right there. Let's back up. Watch right here. I mean, it's doing the job. I mean, those guys are out of there. And watch here, right there. So if you notice right there, you see the cloud of pepper spray. And he is running through it. So I would assume that he took some of it too. And that is one of the disadvantages of pepper spray. But I think for a self-defense situation, it is probably one of the best. That's just my personal take on that. Here we have a man threatening with a knife, and there's the knife. The man is smart to create distance. He provides warnings. And there goes the spray. Fortunately, the spray seems to be blowing away from our victim, and he is incapacitated. Let's imagine what the outcome would have been if the victim had not had that force-enhancing device. Use at very close ranges. If someone would get hold of you, you can apply it to the back of the hand, to the throat, to the groin, and get them to let go of you. You can't deploy pepper spray when somebody's hugging you, unless you want to take a face full of it. Okay, this video was sent to me by a friend, and the officer pulls over a truck driver.
Okay, sir. Get your credentials back. Here's your ID. Okay, we received a citation today for the no-through truck zone. You follow the prompts on that form. Tell you how you can take care of it. What's the last four of your social security? You
There's a red flag right there.
Okay. Do you have a number you could be reached at? No? Okay. Okay, you are receiving a summons today for criminal mischief. I will need a signature at the bottom here. It's just acknowledgement. It's not an admission to guilt, just acknowledgement of receipt. Okay. Okay, we'll have to make a mandatory court appearance at New Philly Muni Court, July 3rd at 1 p.m. Okay.
Okay, and he discharges his firearm. The man attacked him with a screwdriver. He did stick it in his neck. The officer is expected to be okay. He did spend a little time in ICU. My take on it is this, for what it's worth. I think I would have sensed that obviously he wasn't going to cooperate. I think he knew that he had a criminal past from his talk with dispatch. And then also maybe have him keep his door closed. Although that raises some other things. Obviously in a high truck like that you can't really see what their hands are doing, so they obviously could be reaching for a firearm. I had one officer write that obviously you have to be within arm's length because you're issuing papers and this sort of thing. So it's just a very dangerous thing for officers when they're out and they pull someone over, because you never know what is going to happen. Fortunately, he was able to create enough space to get away and get enough distance to discharge his firearm. All right. I just pulled in the car wash, and I got to thinking what a horrible place to be in as far as if you were ever assaulted. they've got the door closed on the end because it's cold weather. So there's only one way out, and that's the way you came in. Obviously, you're trapped if anybody would come in just the one way. I would think as a precaution, obviously consider the neighborhood you're in, whether it's a high crime area. If you're out of town, you don't know where such a place would be, I would get online and just check what area you might be in. As you can see, anybody could come around and then trap you in there. But it's just a thought, because if you get in a situation where you'd be washing your car, you're pretty well on the disadvantage and the blind side of things. Keep that in mind. Important for you to be observant of what is going on around you and exercise the cautions that are being presented. I encourage everyone to carry at least 2 force equalizers. My weapon today is going to be the Kubaton, which this is a divot tool, which I dug while metal detecting. And I'm going to keep my hand on this device in my pocket. We'll get into Kubatons a little later on, but this is the kind I carry. Or it's improvised as a Kubaton. And obviously it's quite pointy. If someone puts their hands on you, then obviously you can administer this.